Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. Really appreciate you taking time to check out this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, everything that it says to do on the screen around this area. Appreciate you in advance. Now, we got to talk about Mighty Morphin Power Ranger games. But I don't want to do individual videos, not because I don't want to take the time to do it, but I feel like we can get a lot accomplished in one video. So I'm going to introduce you to 3 Mighty Morphin Power Ranger games. The first one we're going to check out is the Sega Genesis version. Now, I'm going in my personal chronological order, so it might not be the technical chronological order, but it's all good. So the first one on Sega Genesis was based on the first season, right? So you got the Megazord, you start off with your 5 Rangers, and then you go into where you get the Green Ranger and access to the Dragon Zord, but it's basically a fighting game, right? The story mode is set up for you to do fights, and then the versus mode, you just do fights. But I always was really excited about this because Power Rangers is one of my favorite series growing up. And the games aren't the best games, but they always did a good enough job of having access to what you could see in the show. So I never really cared. And also, side note, Goldar in any game that Goldar's in, he's probably really good. That includes the Battle for the Grid games. Shout out to that, by the way. But, you're going through the first season, you start off with certain monsters, you beat them, read them, makes them grow, and then you fight them in the Megazord. It's just pretty cool. It got cutscenes and whatnot. And I really enjoyed this game. I used to rent this multiple times because it was just fun. And it was the only Power Rangers game that I knew at the time. So I'm like, all right, we're going to rock with this. They had a Game Gear version, but that's basically the same game. It's just on the Game Gear, which wasn't a bad idea either. I played that a lot as well. But then we move on to the SNES. Now, I already told you about the beat 'em ups they had, the one that was just based on season 1, and then the other one was the Ivan Ooze one, which was much better, and it was also multiplayer, so that one was fantastic. But then there ended up being a completely different one called the Fighting Edition, and this one was Zords only, and I really, really, really like this game, and I know that nobody ever talks about this as far as fighting games for the SNES Genesis era that were really, really good. But I'm telling you, me personally, I thought this was a fantastic game. I would play this game right now, and I did play it, for the video and then just for fun. But it has this really cool super meter where your moves do better if you time the meter right. But then if you do that 3 times in a row, you get a max super, and then that does a crazy amount of damage. And let me just tell you something, me in fighting games, there's a couple things that I need to see. One of them is a super meter. If you want to impress me, give me a super meter. And I know that doesn't make any sense because it's pretty much standard now, but there was a time where it wasn't, and it was the coolest thing ever to me. So this game got a lot of bonus points, and it features some of my favorite Zords of all time. Obviously I'm biased to the ones I grew up watching, but the Tiger Megazord, even if they didn't have the Megazord version of Tiger Zord, and it was just a human version of it. But Thunder Megazord, which was crazy because he was a samurai and it's double cool, right? And then you had the Ninja Megazord, which is even more balling because it's a ninja. But you could also play with Lord Zed, again, Goldar, Monster. But this was just a really, really, really fun fighting game. And it wasn't the deepest, story or anything like that, but it was cool to start with the Megazords and then get into the Ninja Zords and even the Samurai Zord, which is the big giant one, which barely made an appearance, but still really cool. The fact that they included it. It doesn't have the greatest roster, but who cares, man? It's Power Rangers, a fighting game. It's got super moves, and I really enjoyed it. Now, last but not least, but definitely not as strong as I feel about the other 2, would be the racing game. Now, the only reason this game disappointed me is because it was a Zeo game, and I thought I was gonna get a chance to play with the Gold Ranger and fight, but you can't. It is a racing game, but it was actually not as bad as I wanted it to be. When I started playing it, I'm like, okay, this isn't completely terrible. It's definitely not what I wanted from a Power Rangers game, and this was kind of where Power Ranger games started going into these weird directions. There's the one for the 64, which is kind of a beat 'em up, but not really. But just to me, this is where it starts to kind of drop off with just doing what works and them trying to figure out something else that they don't need to figure out. But it's cool. It's a racing game. You actually don't have to do the Mario Kart thing of finding items. You start off with just a number of shots that you can do, and they're also homing. So it was easier than a lot of racing games. So I appreciated that aspect. I could win and feel good. But on the other hand, again, I just wanted to fight people with the Gold Ranger. But anyway, we get to have King Mondo racing around on a giant gear. I'm also going to have to make an exception for it too. So I just wanted to share those with you because, again, I really like Power Rangers and I like some of the games that they came out with. And this is where we do that thing where we show appreciation. So if you know about these games, tell me your favorite characters. I'm always partial on the Genesis to the Green Ranger. There's no bad choice on the fighting game. And then, Gold Ranger all day on the racer. But love to hear your thoughts and look forward to reading those. As always, I appreciate you letting me reminisce with you. Y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. Peace.